Welcome to Joshua, a book of courage, promise, leadership, and the faithfulness of God fulfilled. After generations of wandering, longing, and preparation, Israel is finally ready to step into the land God promised to Abraham centuries earlier. And on day 59, the journey through Joshua begins, inviting us into a story where God goes before his people, fights for them, calls them to courage, and proves once again that none of his promises ever fail. Traditionally attributed to Joshua, the book captures the transition from Moses' leadership to a new chapter shaped by courage and obedience. Joshua, once Moses' assistant and one of the two faithful spies, now carries the mantle of shepherding an entire nation into their inheritance. This book in one sentence. Joshua reveals that God keeps his promises, leads his people into victory, and calls them to courageous faith. The book opens with God's commissioning of Joshua. Moses is gone. The wilderness years are over. A new generation stands at the Jordan River facing a future filled with unknowns. Into that moment, God speaks words that echo across Scripture. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Courage, Joshua learns, is not rooted in self-confidence. It is rooted in God's presence. One of the first tests of faith comes at the Jordan River. God commands the priest to step into the water while carrying the ark. As they obey, the river parts, not unlike the Red Sea, and Israel walks across on dry ground. God begins Joshua's leadership with a miracle that reminds the people who is truly leading them. Next, Joshua sends two spies into Jericho, where they encounter Rahab, a woman whose faith sets her apart from her entire city. Rahab hides the spies, trusts Israel's God, and asks for mercy for her family. Her courageous faith not only saves her household, but also places her in the genealogy of Jesus. Her story reminds us that God's grace reaches into unexpected places and welcomes unexpected people. Then comes one of the most iconic moments in the Bible, the fall of Jericho. God's strategy is unconventional. March around the city for 6 days in silence. Then, on the 7th day, shout as the priests blow their trumpets. This is not military might. It is worshipful obedience. When the people shout, the walls collapse and God gives them victory. Jericho teaches us that breakthroughs often come through faith, not force. But Joshua is not just a book of battles. It is a book of covenant faithfulness. After defeating Jericho, Israel faces the consequences of hidden sin in the camp and learns the importance of purity and honesty before God. When sin is dealt with, God restores victory. As the story continues, Israel enters a series of strategic battles as God delivers enemy after enemy into their hands. One of the most dramatic moments comes when Joshua prays and God causes the sun to stand still so Israel can complete their victory. The message is clear. When God fights for you, no force in heaven or earth can stand against you. But Joshua also spends significant time focusing on inheritance, the dividing of the land among the tribes. These chapters, though less dramatic, reveal God's commitment to detail. God not only delivers his people into promise, he organizes, secures, and sustains that promise through structure, blessing, and boundary. Joshua's leadership is marked by faithfulness, humility, and obedience. He builds memorials to remember God's works. He renews the covenant. He leaves the people not only in battle, but in worship and gratitude. Joshua shows us what leadership looks like when God is truly at the center. Near the end of the book, Joshua gathers the people for a powerful farewell message. He recounts all God has done, from Abraham's calling to the victory in Canaan. He warns them against idolatry. He urges them to serve the Lord with sincerity and truth. And he delivers one of the most famous declarations in Scripture. Choose this day whom you will serve, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. As you journey through Joshua, listen for the themes that speak deeply into your own walk with God. God keeps every promise, no matter how long it takes. Courage grows from trusting God's presence. Faith-filled obedience leads to supernatural breakthrough. God fights for his people. Hidden sin can disrupt spiritual progress. God includes unexpected people in his story of redemption. Spiritual inheritance must be protected, honored, and remembered. Every generation must choose whom it will serve. Joshua matters profoundly for believers today. It reminds us that faith requires movement, stepping into the unknown, trusting God with the impossible, obeying even when God's instructions make little sense. It teaches us that God's promises are sure. It teaches us that courage is cultivated in God's presence. It teaches us that victory is not earned. It is given by the God who goes before us. Most importantly, Joshua points us forward to Jesus, whose Hebrew name, Yehoshua, is the same as Joshua's, meaning the Lord saves. Joshua leads God's people into the earthly promised land. Jesus leads God's people into an eternal one. Joshua brings physical victory. Jesus brings spiritual salvation. Joshua's story anticipates a greater deliverer and a greater inheritance. As we begin this portion of the journey, Joshua invites us to step forward in faith, embrace courage, trust God's presence, and walk boldly into the promises he has prepared. Follow along with us each day as we journey through Joshua together. This is day 59. This is Joshua, and this is his time. Every day, all year.